infested our farm. Could you find the time to help us get rid of them?
As a kid, I always thought it was a little odd to have robots in Spyro 2, but you think back to Spyro 1 and there was Metalhead in that game. And I've really come to appreciate the irony of robot farmers. Robotica Farms features some of the most resilient enemies. There's these wasps throwing exploding Donkey Kong barrels at you, these spinning boys that you gotta flip over and use a head bash to kill. They certainly don't mess around here. Also, these seesaws have always reminded me of nail filers. Here we also see the last supercharged challenge, and it is quite a doozy. It involves a lot of tight turns and clearing out these giant pumpkins. Not for the faint of heart, but it is relatively short. The only downside is if you fall off, it's rather hard to restart.
A fine piece of steering that was, Dragon. Here, take this thingamajig I found in the cow pen.
I really can't get enough of these guys. There's another orb challenge where you need to protect these scarecrows from a swarm of bugs. It's very frustrating because you have to kill them all close together, otherwise they'll respawn. Spyro never seems like he can flame high enough to get them. My only piece of advice is use the flutter. We've finally reached our last traditional stage, Metropolis. Another robots meet nature inspired level. This time, farm animals have taken over the metro. It's a little more quirky and less inspired, I think, than Robotica Farms, but still a pretty solid level. There's a really cool orb mission in the middle of the level where you've got to kill this ox on an ice rink.
A vicious ox has taken over our armory.
It's the only other boss that we see outside of the three main antagonists. I guess I'm classifying it as a boss because it does have a health bar. It's much less involved than Crush, Gulp, and Ripto. It's still a really good time, and it makes me realize how rare it is we get to skate on ice in this game. As we reach the end of the last stage, a surprise awaits us.
It's a first for Avalar, a combination power-up. Thank goodness you're here to test it out. These invading sheep and their spaceships must be stopped.
Side note, I'm not very big on the robot voices here. Like the robot lady says, we get to use Avalar's first combination power-up of Superfly and Super Flame. There are 2 waves of UFOs you have to destroy, and it's super easy. It's really just a spectacle. Oddly enough, I ran into a glitch on the second wave where I had destroyed all the UFOs, but I wasn't getting the orb for it. Kind of strange, being that I've never ran into a glitch like this in my many years of Spyro 2. Metropolis is one of those levels that I like conceptually. The orb challenges are fun, the level design is great. It's just all the other little things that bring this one down for me. The music and character design is just okay. I really don't like the voices or the aesthetic. Something I neglected to bring up, but you actually need 25 orbs to even enter this level. So while it and Robotica Farms are close to each other in terms of proximity, you're likely going to this one last. And it doesn't really look like a last level. It doesn't have that last level feel. I'm not saying every last level has to look like the fires of hell, but being that Ripto looks like the devil, maybe that would have worked. I would love to see Ripto's world. Kind of like how we got to see Nasty's world in Spyro 1. Again, this is a perfectly fine level with a lot of great aspects. I would say it beats a lot of Spyro 3 levels. It just doesn't vibe with me personally. After Metropolis, the cleanup portion of the game begins. Now that we have all 3 power-ups, we can go back and nab whatever orbs and gems that we missed. Again, we only need 40 orbs to fight Ripto. If you're short, don't forget about the speedways and the orbs just laying around in the hub world. And before you go in with the bare minimum, keep in mind, if you want to access Dragon Shores, the bonus level afterwards, you'll need 55 orbs and 8,000 gems. So whenever you're ready, make your way to the top of the stairs of the Winter Tundra Castle and enter the double doors. The fight against Ripto takes place in this beautiful arena under a full moon. Before we get started, Ripto patiently waits in the background as our fairy explains the rules of the fight to us. So how this works is you can't damage Ripto with a normal flame or charge. You need to damage him with the orbs that you've collected. Unfortunately, they don't just give them to you in a bag. I would have loved to see the cutscene where they devised this plan, but they decided to give Hunter these Charizard wings and have him fly around the arena dropping orbs. Unfortunately, this means Ripto can also pick up the orbs and use them against you, harkening back to the Gulp fight. Apart from the fact that this is a stupid idea, this makes for some great gameplay. Despite the fact that we just spent the last 10 hours collecting exclusively green orbs, you'll see that in addition to them, Hunter is dropping red and blue orbs. After either Spyro or Ripto collects 3, the last orb you collect will determine which power-up either one of you gets. A red orb will grant Super Flame, blue, Supercharge, and green this Acid Breath. Ripto has his own similar variants, and he'll constantly be shooting you with his scepter while neither of you are powered up. It's not as difficult as the Gulp fight purely because you can get multiple hits off with the same power-up. Also, the fact that fodder is dropped more often in this fight helps a lot. Once Ripto's health bar runs out, he'll use his scepter and summon a mechanical Gulp going into phase 2. I would actually say this phase of the fight is a little easier as your target is so much larger, not to mention that Hunter will start dropping fodder for you to get health back from. Mecha Gulp can grab the orbs just like Ripto, and he has a whole new slew of attacks to show. I like these attacks because they inhibit you from doing the one thing you've probably been doing for 90% of the game, and that is charging. You have to back up and pay attention to where the hurt boxes are going to be if you want to get through this flawlessly, or just charge with the best of them and make sure you're getting the orbs before Gulp. Once Gulp goes down, you'll move on to the final phase of the fight. It's a great spectacle as Mecha Gulp explodes into these golden orbs. Ripto transforms one into a flying mount while Spyro grabs another to get Superfly, and our third phase begins in the air after Ripto destroys the platform below. This actually just occurred to me, but this is exactly what the combination power-up at the end of Metropolis was preparing us for. Hunter is now gone, that means no more fodder to heal, it's just you and Ripto. And his bird. As long as you lead your shots and pay attention to Ripto's attacks, he should go down without a problem. And with that, we get our Power Gem MacGuffin back, allowing us to go to Dragon Shores and say goodbye.
I suppose you have to go now?
Yeah, I'd better. They'll be missing me in the Dragon Worlds, and I've still got a vacation to take. I need it more than ever now.
Before you go, I think that Moneybags has something he wants to give you.
I most certainly do not.
Hunter? Spyro, Moneybags is very sorry that he made you pay so much on your way through Avalar. We want you to keep the gems as a reward for helping us.
Wow, thanks. Sparks, can you grab them?
Let me just type in the new coordinates, and there! Spyro, you can now go to Dragon Shores.
And there you have it, Spyro 2, but we're not quite done. Like the professor just said, we now can go to Dragon Shores, although you do need the 8,000 gems and 55 orbs to enter. Dragon Shores functions as its own mini-level. In a nice little twist, it's run by the Norks, the enemy faction from Spyro 1.
Just for kicks, eh, Spyro?
You'll spend your time here doing these carnival games to collect tokens. Collecting all the tokens unlocks the game's movie theater where you can view all the previous cutscenes. You won't find any enemies or bosses in Dragon Shores, it's just a big celebration of Spyro 2. You'll find a ton of the game's NPCs hanging out. You can dunk the Yeti from Colossus in the dunk tank. The Love Boat ride always gets a laugh out of me. This man right here really should be put on some kind of list. It's a really good time, and it's great to see that new assets were made for it. I alluded to it earlier, but if you manage to get all skill points in the game, you can unlock this epilogue. It reveals the fate of Ripto, Gulp, and Crush, and a lot of the other characters we've met throughout our adventures in Avalar. Interestingly, there's a section that shows cut characters as well. I can understand why they left some of these designs on the cutting room floor.
Mr. Fistus? Mr. Fistus?
That's what the ladies call me.
Mr. Fistus?
Nervous Tickus? Mr. Fistus?
Mr. Fistus?
There's one final reward, and you can find it behind this locked door in the park. It will only open once you've collected all 10,000 gems and all 64 orbs. Behind the door is the permanent Super Flame. Spyro's normal flame attack will be replaced with the Super Flame, and you can take it outside of Dragon Shores to other levels. It's a nice little extra to have. It definitely trivializes bosses, and it's great to see that it made a return in the Reignited trilogy. Now that we've seen everything that Dragon Shores has to offer, it feels like just as much of a vacation to us as it does to Spyro.
Come on, Sparks. We've got a lot of vacation to catch up on.
So there we have it, Spyro 2 beginning to end. If you're someone who grew up with Crash Bandicoot or Mario and have always been looking over the fence at Spyro, this or Spyro 1 are great ones to start with. The hub worlds, the level design, the NPCs, Insomniac managed to inject so much personality, care, and polish into this entire game. Same goes for Toys for Bob, the developers of the Reignited trilogy. They really managed to capture the same magic that the PS1 originals had. So that brings us to the question, what's next? Will we see a Spyro Spyro 4? Well, it's hard to say, being that it takes more development work for an original game versus a remake, and that Crash 4 didn't sell as well as the Reignited trilogy or the Insane trilogy. Maybe it just needs a little bit more time in the anticipation of it. Being that it's been 5 years since Reignited, it's quite possible we could hear something soon, so here's to hoping. With that, thank you so much for watching. This has been Shampmania. I've always wanted to do a video over Spyro 2. I've always wanted to do a longer form video, so this is the result of that, and feel free to let me know if it worked or not for you. Please stay safe out there. Don't forget to tip your waitresses. Feel free to hit all the buttons, and have a great rest of your night.
By the late 90s, there were two major video game companies competing for the industry's top spot: Nintendo with their Nintendo 64 console, and Sony with their Sony PlayStation. Nintendo marketed themselves primarily towards the preteen demographic, and that was reflected in their games. Super Mario 64, Pilot Wings, Yoshi's Story, Mario Kart 64. That's not to say the Nintendo 64 didn't have mature games, they definitely did, but those usually came from third-party developers. Sony, on the other hand, went the other way and appealed to teens and adults. The PlayStation showcased cutting-edge technology for the time. Full motion video and CD-quality audio meant developers could make almost movie-like gaming experiences. Titles such as Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid presented more mature, violent stories. The lines were drawn. If players wanted a more lighthearted family experience, they went with the Nintendo 64. More mature adult themes? Sony PlayStation. But Sony didn't like that dynamic. They didn't want a portion of the gaming audience. They wanted everyone. So by late 1996, Sony went after Nintendo's demographic by making more family-friendly games. One of those titles was a cute little game called Spyro the Dragon. Developed by Insomniac Games, Spyro the Dragon was one of the first open-world 3D platformers on the PlayStation. Despite slow early sales, Spyro the Dragon spread by word of mouth, and the game took off. Insomniac would go on to make 2 more titles in the franchise. The games would go on to sell more than 11 million copies. The history of Spyro the Dragon is also the history of Insomniac Games. Spyro was only their second title, and it cemented them as one of their premier developers for Sony. In 1994, 26-year-old Ted Price was ready for a change. After getting a degree in English from Princeton, he had taken a job with his uncle's medical company. But Price's true passion was video games. At the age of 10, he had begged his father for an Apple IIe computer, claiming he could make a video game and earn $10 million. Eventually, he gave up his dream of programming. But while working for his uncle's medical company, he found himself programming again, and the itch to make video games came back. So Price left his job and